The stained glass, which must once have resided in the two arched windows, was long gone, but the stone cross on the eaves was still there, defiant. The building had a heartbroken look about it, as if grieving for the parishioners who had abandoned it, the people who would have come to worship every week. I dismissed the thought as fanciful nonsense. Whitewater Church was to be revived. I supposed that must be a good thing. It was to become someone's home. Paul stopped taking photographs. "Do you have those maps?" "Map, singular, I'm afraid." I opened my bag, produced a flimsy sheet of paper, and handed it to him. "I'm going to have to get my office scanner fixed." "Don't worry about it. You're the one who had to hand-deliver it. And to be honest, I'm happy to have some company." He unfolded the map. It was little more than an old drawing with some rough measurements. "Is this all there is?" he asked. "Yes, sorry. I doubt this place has ever been properly mapped. That's what was attached to the old Registry of Deeds conveyance." He folded it back up and put it in his pocket. "Okay. I'll just need to measure the boundaries on the ground and ensure that they match the boundaries on the map as best I can." He looked around him at the overgrown site. "It's not going to be easy. Right, the light's fading. I'll do the inside first." He picked up his bag, hoisted it over his shoulder, and started to walk towards the main entrance, cursing again as his foot caught in a stray briar. The ground was covered in rubble, bits of metal and weeds, lots of weeds. "The original door must have been impressive, all right," Paul said, looking up. "Wood?" I asked. He nodded. "Carved, probably." It was hard to imagine it now. It had been replaced by an ugly corrugated iron gate about 10 feet high by 8 feet across, which was starting to rust around the edges. The salty sea air couldn't be good for it. Another padlock. Paul rooted in his pocket and retrieved the keys. The door swung open easily when the lock released, and we went inside. There was more rubble underfoot and a smell of damp decay, but still there was growth. Weeds were sprouting from the walls and in patches here and there on the floor. It was less dark than I had expected. Light was coming in through the windows, as was foliage. The ivy, which was climbing the external walls, had found its way inside, and the remains of a bird's nest rested on what was left of the windowsill. "It's not very big for a church," I said. Paul shrugged. "Population here would never have been terribly high. A few families at most. Almost like an island population." While Paul took some measurements and photographs, I wandered slowly around the interior, looking at the walls. Here and there were the remains of memorial plaques to individual families. Fishermen who died prematurely, farmers who lived long lives. A community that no longer existed. We eventually gathered our things and left. Outside, the light was fading rapidly. "It's going to be dark soon," I said. "Have you much left to do?" "I'm nearly done. I have a torch, if we're really stuck. I can use that. Not that I fancy the idea of being here after nightfall." I stood and watched while Paul walked around the perimeter of the building, measuring the external walls. A loud fluttering made me jump. I looked up to see a rook fly over my head and land on the cross on the eaves. There were 4 of them, in a neat row, spectral and silent. As I watched them, I lost my footing and stumbled backwards. The heel of my boot hit something metal. I looked down. I was standing on some kind of iron grid, about 2 feet square, and very overgrown. I called out to Paul, and he came over to investigate, pushing the weeds aside to get a better look. "Damn it," he said. "Does the church have a basement?" "No idea. Anything on the map?" "I doubt it." He took it out, unfolded it, and checked.